stay tuned because for the next 60 minutes, Motorsports Unlimited.
Hi everybody, I'm Samantha Bentley and this is the 1044th edition of Motorsports Unlimited.
I'm Janine Lauschat, and as most of you know by now, Bill has been suffering from a back injury for the past few months. Hopefully, as you see this, he is on his way to a speedy recovery from back surgery. While we're waiting for Bill's recovery, we've been enjoying some classic episodes of Motorsports Unlimited. Last week, we showed you powered parachutes, a kind of ultralight aircraft we taped 13 years ago.
At the time, Bill was intrigued by one of the claims of proponents of these aircraft. They said anyone could learn how to fly them in an afternoon. Anyone.
Bill kept thinking about that and thought, one of these days, I'll have the right girl on the show to test this claim.
3 years later, after Peggy O'Donnell joined the show, he said, I think I have just the right girl to try flying one of those powered parachutes. Let's listen as Tim Murtaugh, our announcer at the time, explains a little further.
Motorsports Unlimited. Today we have an extraordinary program for you that began some 3 years ago when we first introduced you to powered parachutes. You remember, the ultralight aircraft that is supported by a ram air parachute instead of a rigid wing? Well, anyway, at the time the folks involved, Susie and Mike Harmoning, said that anyone can fly these craft with a small amount of instruction. Now our regular viewers know that over the past few years, our own Peggy O'Donnell has learned how to ride snowmobiles, wave runners, ATVs. She learned to drive stick shift and most recently learned how to ride a motorcycle. Bill thought Peggy might just be the person to put Susie and Mike Harmoning's statement to the test. Can just anyone fly a powered parachute? Let's find out.
Don't do nearly enough sport aviation on Motorsports Unlimited. I've said it a number of times on the program, and one of these days I'm going to figure out a way to solve it. We have done some sport aviation before. About 3 years ago, we came out to Genoa, Illinois, and that's where we're at today, and we met some terrific people, and I always do the name wrong, but I'm going to try it again. This is Mike and Susie Harmoning. Am I even close?
That's very close. You're right on. Harmoning.
Say it again.
Mike and Susie Harmoning.
Mike and Susie Harmoning, and guess what this is? I know as I walked by, and Chuck, show it to the audience again, I know as I walked by I talked about sport aviation and not doing enough sport aviation on Motorsports Unlimited, and I didn't identify the fact that this is actually an aircraft. Am I right, Susie?
That is correct.
That's exactly right, and as a matter of fact, we did this show, we were trying to figure it out before we went on camera about 3 years ago, where we came out here to Genoa, and this was our first introduction to something called powered parachutes. At that time, I understood these aircraft to be paraplanes, and when I came out here, they weren't paraplanes. You guys had something called Skyriders or something?
That is correct.
Okay, and I came to learn that paraplane was the outfit that kind of started it all, but like Crescent Wrench or Kleenex tissues, there became a bunch of other Crescent Wrenches and Kleenex tissues, and they were doing Skyriders, and since that time, things have changed again because you guys are actually building your own now.
Yeah, it's called the High Flyer.
You're calling the High Flyer, which doesn't surprise me because they always call themselves, I'm going to say the name wrong, Harmoning High Flyer. Did I say the name right?
Yes, you did.
I got it in there right. The Harmoning High Flyers was always the way they taught people to do this stuff, and now it doesn't surprise me that they named their own aircraft the High Flyers. This is what we're looking at, and again, Chuck, show it to the audience. And this is actually an ultralight aircraft, except it's an ultralight aircraft with a huge difference. This ultralight aircraft doesn't really have a fixed wing. And Chuck, if you would again broaden your shot and show the audience what we've got laying on the ground. Susie, tell them about what's on the ground there.
It's basically a 525 ram-aired parachute. And it's basically a flexible wing. And what you would actually do is you would have forward motion with the cart, bring that parachute up into the shape of the wing. And once the shape of the wing, you lift and go around and fly around just like an airplane.
Are we talking about a Regala wing?
A Regala wing? No, we're talking about a ram air parachute.
It's
not
air.
a Regala wing.
Okay, so explain the difference.
The difference would be that you actually have air filling this parachute up, and the air charges the parachute and it cannot escape. Okay, so you have a flexible wing with air inside of it. Okay, you cannot deflate this wing unless you point the leading edge up in the air. The only way you can deflate it is once you're on the ground.
All right. Interesting thing about these things, and I am a person that has about 10 hours of solo time, as our regular viewers know. I've talked about this before because I love aircraft and I love airplanes and I love flying and all the rest of it. This is quite different in that the thing that's the hardest thing to teach a person about aircraft and flying aircraft is what stall is. And we're not talking about stalling the engine, we're talking about the aircraft stalling, which essentially means an aircraft wing has to go through the air at a certain speed in order to develop enough lift to lift the aircraft. If you reduce the speed to a point where you don't have enough lift, you don't have enough air going over the wing, or it's not going over fast enough, the aircraft stalls, meaning the aircraft drops. These don't do that.
No, they don't. This is a constant speed aircraft. Our aircraft flies at 26 miles an hour all the time. If you go to full power, you fly at 26. If you shut your engine off, you fly at 26. So with a constant speed aircraft, we are stall resistant. The engine controls your altitude.
And if the engine stops,
you become a skydiver with an open parachute and you float to the ground.
Exactly. This is quite interesting to me, and I can't quite imagine that kind of a circumstance as a person that's piloted fixed wing aircraft. I can tell you the thing that you have to know, and when you come down and you hold as you're making your approach, you're holding the aircraft speed just above the stall speed, and as you drop down close to the runway, get yourself a foot or so over the runway, you continue. You don't add power, you pull the stick back to continually add more load to that, and it slows the aircraft down some more. It stalls and you settle gently onto the runway. This one doesn't work that way.
No, it does not. You land with this with an engine out, you could actually flare this like a skydiver does. You know how the skydivers land on their feet? You can do the same thing with this. 10 feet before you land, you depress both steering levers forward and you actually put the brakes on the craft and set her right down.
Well, this is going to be. Wait a minute, Peggy. What are you doing, Peggy? Chuck, show her what she's doing.
I'm doing what he just said. Now,
Now show the audience. The audience. We didn't have a camera shot, so go ahead and do it again.
Right here. This pendulum.
Go ahead, pull your legs back, pull them back, and show the audience what you did because you weren't on camera.
Right here, 10 feet before. But Doctor, does that help your nerves at all with what they were saying with the?
All right, the audience doesn't know what you're talking about yet. Okay, first of all, the reason Peggy is sitting in this seat is that if things go well on today's program, you've watched Peggy learn how to ride the Wave Runners. You've watched Peggy learn how to ride ATVs. You've watched Peggy learn how to drive a stick shift. You've watched Peggy actually learn how to ride a motorcycle and got real good at it real quick, right?
Yes.
And today, if things go the way we would like them to do, we are going to watch Peggy be a pilot. Am I right?
Yay! I can do it.
Okay, well, we'll see. I'm more concerned about this than she is, I think. I am. I'm a little bit concerned about this because, I was so impressed with these aircraft the last time we were out here. It did look like something you guys kept saying over and over again. Anybody can do this. Anybody can do this. Anybody can do this. So they called me and they said, Bill, it's been about 3 years. We had a girl at that time named Allison. Allison was afraid even to go up as a passenger, and he said, that girl was so afraid, maybe we ought to take and put her through the class. And well, Allison, since that time, as our regular viewers know, has had a couple of children, has been on a program for a long time, and Peggy has sort of replaced Allison as doing all the daredevil stuff and doing all the things where we have people drive and ride things and all that. So I said, we've got just the girl that can do it, if anybody can do it, because Peggy is like a guy. How many times have I said that?
Oh, too many. I can't even count.
She's like a guy, and she learns this stuff very quickly. She's very, very mechanical, and if anybody can do this, our girl Peggy can. So what you guys, if I understand this correctly, are going to do is first we're going to give Peggy the ground school. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Then we're going to take her out and actually have her fly the aircraft with the following caveat. Do understand the one thing these things are extremely sensitive to is wind. You can't have wind. Obviously, with a huge canopy like this, the slightest bit of wind will make it so that we can't fly, right?
Exactly, and that's why on the first flight, I will actually fly the craft first and go up in the air and check everything out to make
check
sure
out the air
safe.
and all that.
Exactly. If it's not safe, we don't fly.
Exactly, and do keep in mind, folks, for those of you where nobody worries more than I do, and believe me, I'm going to be ahead of her one step at a time. Then nothing's going to happen to Peggy. Go ahead.
It was raining on the way here, and I got really disappointed, so I try not to show it.
Okay, but you think you're going to be able to do this?
I think I can. It's just weather permitted.
Okay. Anything else that we should tell the audience before we go? Because you're now. By the way, Susie's not just a pretty face. Make no mistake about it. You fly, right?
That is correct.
And in addition to doing the flying, you do a lot of the instruction.
Yes. I am the ground instructor, classroom, schoolroom teacher.
Okay. Well, I got to ask then, who's the better pilot between the two of you?
It depends on which day we're flying, I suppose. I'm not going to get into that, Bill.
Okay, because I'm
going there.
I'd have puffed up real quick and said, no, me. Wait a minute, we got a question over here. When one of the girls on Motorsports Unlimited has a question, we stop everything. Yes.
Well, Bill, that I went parasailing this Wednesday, so I'm wondering how you guys can tell me how it compares to it, because it was a great experience, but I know it's not over water, so maybe there's some comparisons or ideas I can have about it.
Real good thought. As a matter of fact, we were shocked when we heard that Susan went parasailing because she is really a chicken, and she. Wait a minute.
You couldn't even get her to go tubing, and she does parasailing.
Couldn't get her to go to tubing, and she goes parasailing. Are you familiar with parasailing?
Yeah, exactly.
How similar is the experience?
It's different in the fact that you have more directional control with this. You have
Because you have a motor and you're in control, it's not being towed by a boat.
exactly.
All right, if we don't have anything else more to cover before we get started, the girls are going to go in the house and you're going to take them, right, Susie? And you're going to give them the ground school and what they have to know and all that. And hopefully, if things go well here today, we've got a couple of girls here that would be real anxious about taking a ride. Now, I want to point something out. And this is technical stuff. I hate all this stuff. I'm going to explain it. In order for it to qualify legally as an ultralight aircraft, it can only be a one-passenger vehicle. But if you'll notice, in the time we flew these things before, we had our girls going up as passengers. If you notice, it's like a second seat back here. But that seat has a permanently installed storage box on it now. But it is possible for an instructor to take a person up, right?
Exactly. I'm an AFI and Susie's a BFI. We're legal instructors for the ASC.
Right. Okay. So, but technically, it is a single-seat aircraft. And that's the way people are supposed to use it.
Exactly. The only way you can use it as a two-place is for instruction only.
For instruction purposes. So hopefully we're going to get everybody a ride here today. Anyhow, folks, this is the program today. Peggy is going to become a pilot. Don't go away because this ought to be fun.
I was excited and nervous, but really looking forward to it. The only thing I was concerned about was the sky was clouding up again and the rain was starting to fall. For the moment, we put that fact aside and went inside for ground school. I had to read a book and take a test. It took about an hour.
I have in my hands, and Chuck, can you come in close on this and get the name off of this thing and tell me if tell me if that's readable? Can we see who this is? Yes, we can see that. I have Peggy O'Donnell's written test. She has just studied this manual on her own and then taken a test afterwards. This is the test. And how do you think you did, Peg?
I got 2 wrong. I did pretty good.
Okay, you weren't going to try to schmooze through there and say, oh, I got them all right, and then hope I wouldn't say anything?
No, because you would have corrected me.
I sure would have.
I know.
Let me come back over here. All right, Susie, Peggy just took the test. She got 2 wrong out of 15. Does she pass?
She passes with an 86%.
Okay, give us a little idea. Is this difficult for people to test like this?
No, it really is not. A lot of it's the common sense and just the basics of the powered parachute itself.
Okay, I'd like you to accompany me over here so Peggy fully understands this. We want to make sure that if you would step right over there like that. Now turn to face the camera. Good. Good. We don't care much about Peggy. Step right over here. Okay, face the camera. I want to start out here. A proper. I'm gonna do this without my glasses. Believe me.
Want me to read it to you?
Thank you. A proper pre-flight check must be performed, and it's a 3-part thing. You can do it once a day, prior to each flight, or once a week. What was it?
Prior to each flight.
That's correct, and that goes for any kind of flying. Anytime you're going to fly any kind of an aircraft, you always do a pre-flight, but you do a walk around and check the aircraft out, because even if you did it that morning, you were gone for a couple of hours, somebody might have driven through the side of it while you were gone. So you always do a pre-flight before you, that's any kind of aircraft. Let's move on. Winds above. Now, we've explained before, and by the way, folks, it is getting darker and darker out. Just to remind our audience that's going to see this a few weeks later, or a few years later, or a few months later, or what have you, this is the day when yesterday in Chicago we had just horrendous rainstorms and power outages everywhere, and we're still seeing remnants of that today. We are hoping we have a passing band of showers going over right now. We are hoping it's going to pass and we'll get this in. But so these are extremely yeah, I know you'd be all disappointed. These are extremely wind-sensitive aircraft, and it says winds above blank create hazardous flying conditions. And it's 5 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour, 15 miles an hour.
It was 10.
Okay, now I would almost say, because these things are so sensitive to it, that maybe even 5 miles an hour.
5 miles would be correct for a first-time student as Peggy. We really want the best conditions whatsoever. So for a first-time student, I would tend to go with 5, but 10 is correct.
Okay, the steering levers are used for, and it's ABC, descending, turning, or stopping the vehicle.
It was turning.
That's correct, and it kind of makes sense because they're called steering levers. All right, the throttle lever is used for A, turning, B, to regulate altitude and rate of descent, and C, only to take off.
It was B.
Which was?
The regulate the altitude and rate of descent.
She's just showing off. She can see that without glasses. She's just showing off. The throttle lever should be moved A, B, or C, slowly and smoothly, any way the pilot wishes, forward to go, down.
A, slowly.
Slowly and smoothly. Although I would also say any way the pilot wishes to.
That's what most men.
For a hardhead like me.
That's why women make better pilots, and that's not my quote. That's my husband's quote. Women tend to move things slowly and smoothly, where men are more erratic and they think, you know, more power the better. And
Cool. Yeah, that's what I would think.
cool, yeah. But if you move it slowly and smoothly, everything reacts so much better on the powered parachute.
Okay, we'll go to the next one. The pre-takeoff roll is used to get the attention of spectators. That's probably what you want to do, right, Peg?
Oh, always.
Okay. Assure the canopy. When we say canopy, we're actually talking about the wing of the aircraft. Assure that the canopy is properly positioned prior to adding full power. Or C, extend the length of takeoff.
It was B.
B.
Yes.
B, you want to make sure that, and this kind of an aircraft, we're using air to fill the canopy. You want to make sure before you get the thing off the ground that the canopy is full, right?
That is correct.
Okay, the
Okay.
first page there was none wrong, but then I came into a little bit of trouble.
First page, she did great, guys. She really did. We were going. We're going to town.
Okay, 7. Important components of a proper takeoff are, and it's ABC. A is keep faced directly into the wind, check the canopy to assure proper position and add full power. B, facing downwind and add half power. And C, turn 30 degrees off wind line and check the canopy. Which was it, Peg?
It was the A.
It was A. Now, is that one you had wrong?
No,
Oh, okay, you were right in that.
I initialed them.
Okay, and again, we want to make sure we understand, these are like every other aircraft. You take off into the wind and you land into the wind. If you've ever watched war movies and they have aircraft carriers, and they'll say, okay, turn it into the wind. What that's all about is to make sure that we launch the airplanes into the wind. So you always land into the wind and take off into the wind. And Susan, you look quizzical about that. Does that make sense to you?
Not really. I also want to know something about the clouds, because they were mentioning the 3 types of clouds and how heat and humidity and altitude affect your flight. So could you explain that to us a little bit?
We couldn't, because it would take about 7 hours, but I'll give you just a little bit of a taste of it, and Susie, you can add to this if you want, but in the interest of time, I'll give it to you just real briefly, Susan. The fact of the matter is, ultralight aircraft, and this is an ultralight aircraft,
Well,
are the most
what do you
sensitive of
think?
all
Is
aircrafts
Peggy
because
going
they
to be
depend on
able to
big
fly
wings
the
and lots of
high
lift, and they
flyer?
fly very, very slowly. So they sense those conditions. With one of these aircraft, if you fly over a swimming pool, you might very well notice the difference in the air because there's so much wing to affect it. Believe me, big aircraft feel it too, but they might have to fly over Lake Michigan to get the different feel.
Hi, I'm May Chin. I bet they get rained out.
Everything affects these things, and they affect these more than they do. And if you want to fill in on this?
That's right on the nutshell.
Exactly. If a person wants to learn how to fly, this is the right place to start. We're agreed?
This is the perfect place to start.
Perfect place, because what you do is you get a real sensitive aircraft that's sensitive to all these things. All those forces influence every other kind of aircraft. It's just some of them are so
But if
large
she
and heavy and
doesn't
powerful
fly,
and fast
then why
that
would Bill
you're not
refer
gonna
to
really
this
feel
as
it.
one
It
of
may
the
affect you
best
sometimes in a real
shows?
bad way. So it's a good thing to learn in a craft where you can become knowledgeable of these different air currents, correct?
That is correct.
Okay,
Neat
yes.
for the first time for us. We're excited. Hopefully we can get it in.
She's really excited. Okay.
with the test?
No, real quickly. To abort a takeoff prior to the wheels leaving the ground, I will. Now the question is, to abort a takeoff prior to the wheels leaving the ground, I will A, put my feet down on the ground and stop the vehicle. You said like a Flintstone, right?
Flintstone, yeah.
Turn 30 degrees off the wind line, and that wasn't it either, but the right answer was immediately move the throttle to the off position and push both steering levers forward.
Forward.
Okay, you're all set on that. Next question, she hasn't gotten anything wrong so far. She had all of this right. During flight, to avoid running into an obstacle, I will. Now I'm going to give you my own answer on this. Whenever you fly an aircraft, get in the air. It's not like people think it is. As long as you stay close to the ground, you'll be okay even if something happens. Other way around. You're always better off in an aircraft being up in the air because you don't run into anything up in the air. You run into trees and wires and things like that close to the ground. Am I correct?
That is correct.
So you want airspace.
Airspace, lots of it. The more room, the better.
Absolutely. And the correct answer to it was A, B, and C. And it was look for a clear area and turn toward it, or reduce power and land before reaching the obstacle. Or B, always add full power. Or C, always shut off the power. Again, what you want to do is look for that clear area and turn towards it, right?
That is correct.
Okay, this is one she got wrong now. Here we go, Peggy. If the high flyer fails to take off within 300 feet or is climbing inadequately to safely avoid any obstacle, I will. And A, keep the throttle at full power and climb to avoid the hazard. Well, we just said in the question we're not climbing adequately. B, abort the takeoff or throttle back and land before reaching any obstacle, which is the correct answer. And C, listen to the instructor to tell me what to do. Well, Peggy, well, come over here. What was your answer on this thing?
Peggy's feeling kind of bad, you guys.
Oh, come on. What I mark it? A. I marked A.
You might keep the thing at full power and try to climb over the hazard. No, you don't want to do that. We've just said we're not climbing adequately, so you've got to bail out. You got to abort the takeoff.
Yeah, okay.
Let's move along quickly here. That was the one she had wrong. Okay, to avoid descent to the ground when making a low low turn, I will. And the answer here, the correct answer is the first one. Add adequate power to prevent descent. Again, more power is going to give you more altitude, right?
That is correct.
Okay, so if you're making a turn and you're losing lift because you're making a turn, add more power to get some of that lift back.
More power, more lift.
There you go. The other two answers were reduce power or not make low turns. Okay? 12. To protect the body in an overturned cart emergency, I will. Now, this is if you're in the cart and for some reason you got dragged sideways or the wind blew you over or something like that. The question is, what are you supposed to do? The first answer is A, stick out my arms and legs to absorb the shock. Absolutely not. B, immediately throttle back and position my body to tuck position by holding my shins. That's right. Tuck everything in because the aircraft is designed in such a way that even if it tumbles over, if you hold everything in, you don't hit the ground.
There is a roll bar, roll protection area in the whole cart. As long as you remain in the boundary of that, everything is protected.
Exactly.
Bill,
Yes.
I didn't see that in the book, but that's pretty much common sense. Was that in there?
That's a common sense, and
Because, I mean,
no,
think about
it is
it.
not in the book, and that is one thing that we'd hope that everyone would just have the common sense to do the roll and tuck.
Exactly.
Don't be worried about me going up. Two little mistakes.
Okay. 13. If the radio fails to work, I will. A, fly any way I wish. That's a guy's answer, right?
That's a guy's
That's
answer.
your answer,
B,
yeah.
continue the flight pattern as demonstrated and follow the visual signals of the instructor, and that is the correct answer. B, because we will have an instructor on the ground that'll be talking to her with a radio. And should the radios fail, then you will just watch the person on the ground and take the hand signals.
But in the book, it says to tap it on the helmet and just continue to watch, but it didn't say that in there, but that's the right answer.
But you got it right. And the last one was fly to a safe area and land. But obviously, it's continue the flight pattern as demonstrated and then watch for visual signals. Okay, we're almost to the end of this now. Yeah, we got to hurry. Chuck, you're not waving your arm frantically, are you? No? Okay. Okay, question 14. Landings are made by, and you had this one wrong, Peggy.
I know, and it was
Okay, the correct answer is positioning the throttle just below the level flight setting and keeping the high flyer facing into the wind. That would be correct. You would have the throttle reduced to a point where you're not climbing, where you're in fact descending, and you're flying into the wind because you always land into the wind and take off into the wind. And your answer to this was keeping the high flyer face downwind. Exactly wrong answer. Wrong. Okay.
She was confused. She was just confused.
And we're used to that. Yes, okay. Now you wonder why I'm nervous. Okay. 15. If I am not ready to assume all the risk and liability concerning the operation of a high flyer, I will, and you got this one right, and that answer is not fly the high flyer. So you have to convince us all that you're ready to go, right? And yourself.
I am ready. You're not ready for me to fly it.
Well, we need
Ask
to...
Susie what her opinion is.
Okay, well, first of all, she's got more instruction to give, am I correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay, now, we're going to give her an opportunity to give a little more instruction. We want to move stuff around here just a little bit, but you passed the test, so that part of it, she's ready. We want a little bit more instruction, and hopefully it's going to clear up outside, folks.
The rain seemed to be falling harder, but we were keeping our spirits up by seeing a brighter sky on the horizon. While Susie gets ready to give me flight pattern instruction, let's take a moment to meet the girls on today's show.
Hi, I'm Susan Russell.
I'm Peggy O'Donnell.
And I'm Gloria Walters.
Thank you, girls. Now let's get back to the instructions.
Good afternoon. My name is Susie, and welcome to our ground school today, where we're having Peggy, Gloria, and Susan. What I'm actually going to do here, now that Peggy has actually taken the test and has passed with 86%, we are going to go ahead and draw the first flight pattern out on the chalkboard, and actually, so that she can actually see the first flight pattern that she is going to be flying for us at the airfield. Peggy, now when I do this, at any point, I will stop and ask you if you have any questions, okay?
Okay.
What we'll do when we get out to the airfield, our airfield runs basically like so. What we'll do is we'll actually start you off here. This will just be the powered parachute that we'll actually start you with. We'll be down about here on the runway. What we'll do is we'll actually get you into a forward motion, getting you taking off into the wind. Once we get and watch the parachute come up into the shape of the wing and we see everything that is going the way we want that to go, we'll give you the command of full power. Once we get you up and around, we'll want you to fly all the way to the end of the runway, make a right-hand turn, go downwind, and just keep flying at the height that we have you at, making no adjustments unless we actually ask you to make an adjustment on the throttle. Keeping downwind, you'll come around, make a right-hand turn, fly to the end of the runway, keeping a right-hand turn, coming over the runway. Basically, you'll be flying into the wind now, and what we'll do is we'll get you about dead center of the runway. This is where we'll want you to go ahead and make your 360s on the aircraft. So what you'll do is you'll go ahead and you'll make a right 360, level back out, make sure everything's nice and level, go ahead and make a left 360. And then you'll level back out, coming down, flying to the end of the runway, and making a right-hand turn. Continuing your right-hand turns until you get about here. What we'll do about here is we'll say, okay, Peggy, go ahead and give us a throttle back. At that point, you'll just make a small movement on the throttle. You'll continue, and at this point, anywhere in here, if we want you to descend any, we'll just keep telling you to throttle back. You'll just continue flying downwind, continuing to the end here, making your right-hand turn, coming back around, making another right-hand turn, and here we may give you another throttle back. Once we give you a throttle back here, we'll just kind of watch, because at this time, in this pass round, we'll actually be asking and getting you to make a low-level flight pass. This is what we call a simulated flight landing. You will be anywhere from maybe 10 feet to 50 feet off the ground, depending upon, what the wind conditions are doing this evening. At this point, the other thing that we would ask you, Peggy, is whatever you do, do not land the aircraft. If it feels like you're going to land at that point, go ahead back to full power. But you'll be pretty much level flight this whole area from here to where we're actually standing. Once you get to about where we're standing, we'll ask you to go back to full power. You'll fly all the way to the end of the runway, making your right-hand turns, again making a right-hand turn, making a right-hand turn, and what you'll do here is you'll start doing your throttle backs again. And what we're actually going to be doing here through this whole area is we're actually going to be setting you up for your landing this time around. And just making your right-hand turn, and now in here what we'll do is we'll actually ask you just to really pay attention and listen to what we're doing, because we're going to be watching your rate of descent. We know exactly what you're doing, where we want you to be at this point. Okay, so you'll have anywhere from here, you have a whole half a mile runway to land the aircraft. Okay, so when we give you a throttle back in here, we may give you a power up, because we're just watching your rate of descent. Once your wheels touch the ground, what we want you to remember is to cut those engines. At that point, there will be no further roll motion.
I have a question. Now, when we're doing this, you're throttling back half inch as well as when you're throttling up. It's a half inch each time. Is it the same as descending?
Each time that you make a movement, it's a half inch on the throttle.
Okay, good. That was my question.
Okay, so in here again, the only thing that I can stress is you may be getting a power up, or you may be getting a throttle back. So you just have to listen to what we're saying, because we're watching the rate of descent as to how you're coming in. And the other thing that I will stress is when you're coming in for a landing, you have no forward momentum. So it feels like you're coming in rather fast and the ground is coming up to you rather fast. So what I'd rather have you do is just kind of watch out, look at us, and just pay attention to what we're asking you to do with that throttle.
That sounds like I can handle that one. Okay.
Susan.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting how in the beginning you do those figure eight, those really tight 360s, because I would think that at first you would maybe make these big turns, but you go right in the beginning doing those tight things. I think that's really cool.
Well, the one reason that we do the 360 here is basically just to see how the powered parachute maneuvers. By fully deflecting to the right, you actually can see how tight you can make the turns. If there's a little bit of wind, it may be a little wider. If it's a real calm day, you can turn that on a dime.
Okay. Now you really have to keep it the way it read in the manual, that you really have to push on it to get it to turn. Do you just keep that on there till you're fully turned and then get ready to make your left?
What you want to do is, yes, fully deflect that right-hand turn, okay, with your foot. And then you'll level everything back out. And once you're flying level again, you'll fully deflect. And you'll really have to exert a little bit of pressure, okay, to see that. Any more questions?
Not that I can think of. I just hope we can get it in and let the rain stop.
Rain, rain, go away.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Okay, and I'll hand it back to Bill.
Well, nicely done, Susie. Now, that wasn't so hard, was it, being a television personality?
No, it was not.
Just one small criticism.
Okay.
You have to always remember where that camera is, so back up just a little bit here. I want the audience to see what she was drawing over here on this side here. Again, obviously what they have is a complete thing laid out where they, as instructors, they have a radio on her, they keep a radio on themselves, they talk to her completely. As she starts taking off, she actually flies over you guys?
She actually flies over us.
Actually flies over these guys, and as she flies over this group, they watch her all the way and give her these instructions for these turns and all these things to give her a real good feeling for how this thing works. And the same applies to the landing, correct?
That is correct.
So you talk her through the whole thing.
We talk her through the whole thing.
Peggy, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Wait, let me get to the right side here. Say it again.
Let it begin.
Okay, well, a little surprise here. Instead of you doing this today, we've decided Susan's going to do it.
Oh, God, give me a break, Bill. I'm going to be a good co-pilot with you, Bill.
But we have to watch Mike first. He's going to do the first flight, so I can get a better understanding and idea of what, this is here, just besides the board, looking and watching him do it. And then getting up in the air would be the only thing. Susie and I talked about that beforehand. How it's okay to visualize it, but once I'm up there, I can really see and put it to action what I've learned. You know what I mean?
You would not believe how excited she is.
Bill's right. I was very excited and happy to finally get out to the flying field.
We're over at the flying field now, and Peggy, what's going on?
It's raining.
Gloria?
Well, if it's raining,
really
how
disappointed
did
'cause if she
this
doesn't
end
get to
up
do it,
being
I
one
don't
of
get to do it.
Motorsports
Susie, you okay?
Unlimited's
It's not gonna happen.
best shows?
She's quite happy this time. We are not.
The show, Bill.
we are not giving up, but there's no question about it. By the way, Chuck, if you come over here on my hand, so you can see that. I don't know if the camera's picking up the rain very well. It's raining right now as we're standing here. I don't know if you can. Is that visible, Chuck? All the water? Okay. Everything is wet. We've got 2 or 3 of these high flyers here. We're anxious to get the girls up, especially.
This is crazy. Bill always talks about this show as being one of our best.
I was just thumbing up it.
Oh, okay. It does seem to be letting up. The sun seems to be getting the sun.
And
the
now,
sky seems
no
to be getting a little brighter.
show.
There certainly is no sun, and we haven't given up yet.
I was so disappointed. We waited for some time, and things did seem to be improving, so we decided to continue the instructions.
I don't know, Peggy. It's a little while later, folks, and the sky's kind of brightened up, hasn't it?
Well, we're crossing our fingers. Let's hope.
We're crossing our fingers because it seems like it's a little bit brighter. The sun is too much to hope for today, but we've got a little bit more instruction to go through before we put her in this. And Mike, go ahead and explain it to her and the audience at the same time.
Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the throttle commands here.
Wait just a minute. Peggy would like to come over here so she can hear better. Please come on over here, Peggy. Step right around. You're not on mic, so just wait. Okay, go ahead now, Mike.
Okay, now what you'll be doing, you'll be strapped in the seat here. I'll actually strap myself in. This will be your takeoff position. You'll have your hand on the joystick, your other hand on the throttle. Your kill switches will be on, which is forward, okay? The first command I'll give you will be power up. You move the throttle ahead a half an inch and stop. Then a power up, half an inch and stop. Every command is a movement, okay? I'll be watching your parachute. What you can do to assist me is if I say steer toward me, take your joystick and just pull towards me. Now, it will move easier once you're moving along the ground. So you'll just aim the plane at me, okay? I'll be watching your parachute. I'll give you another power up, power up. Once everything looks good, I'll give you full power. You move the throttle all the way ahead till it stops, okay? Once you gain altitude, which is about 200 feet, you'll do a small throttle back, which is a half-inch movement, throttle back to maintain level flight. And then you go ahead and continue to fly the pattern. To steer, push right, push left, go left, okay? The only other important thing to remember is the minute your wheels touch down on landing, kill those engines. Hit these kill switches back. Keep hitting them till you hear it shut down, okay? And then if you want to help me, you can push both steering levers forward. That will help deflate the chute, okay? Okay, why don't you go ahead and sit in the seat now?
Go ahead, Peggy. Step right on in.
Feet in there wrong earlier.
Yes, I noticed that. I noticed that when he stepped in. I says, a little bit of a change there. Mike, if you would step on over here so you can wait just a minute, Peggy. You're not on mic. Wait just a minute, Peggy. You're not on mic.
Mud and grass on the heels.
Okay. What do you want to explain to her again? Let me get back over on this side. Wait till you're on. Get you on mic.
Peggy, by sitting in the seat, you become the pilot and in command of this aircraft. You're responsible for maintaining the powered parachute during flight, for flying the prescribed first flight pattern, for steering away from any and all obstacles, and for doing whatever is necessary to ensure your own safety. Okay? Go ahead and get in the takeoff position. Put your hand on the throttle and your other hand on the joystick. We'll put the kill switches on. Go ahead and demonstrate for me a power up. Half inch and stop. Power up. Power up.
So far, so good?
Yeah, power up. Full power. Okay. Throttle back. Throttle back. Throttle back. Okay, Peggy, demonstrate for me now what you're going to do upon landing when your wheels touch the ground.
When your wheels touch the ground,
Yep.
you want to
Wait just a minute, Peggy.
turn these off.
Yep.
Just flip them off.
As possible. Go
Do
ahead.
I do that
Yeah,
now?
go ahead.
Okay.
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 And what else?
Make sure they click.
And what else?
What do you mean what?
He asked you to.
Oh,
There we
yeah.
go.
Okay, you're right. Okay. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Another kind of takeoff you might have now is, go ahead and put your hand on the throttle again, please.
Okay.
I'll give you a power up, power up, power up, steer to the right, power up, and cut, 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 cut. Super. As quick as you can,
Okay.
hit those kill switches off, okay? And we're going to try this one more time.
Okay.
Okay, another kind of takeoff you might have is I'll give you a power up, and cut, 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 cut. Super. Hit them kill switches
well, they were
back.
down.
Yeah, as quickly as you can. Hit those kill switches.
She should also pull the throttle back, shouldn't she?
Getting
don't
the
care
kill,
about-
no.
you
Getting
just
the, I want those engines off. I
Okay.
don't care about the throttle. I want the engine shut down. Okay, that stops all forward motion. Everything stops then. Okay.
Any questions, Peggy?
No, so far so good.
Okay. Now, when you do your turns, you have to actually exert some pressure.
Okay,
We got
that's
this.
what it was?
Yeah. This is how it will feel in the air. Okay. So to do a turn, you'll just push it, and that's how tight you'll turn. Then you'll release very slowly. Okay. To do a 360, you'll depress it all the way. So push it all the way, as far as you can. Do your 360, then you'll release. Okay.
Okay. I wanted to see how that was going to feel. Okay, so that's good.
Now I have to get out here to do.
Go right ahead. Let me step over here with you. The audience will not hear it. Go right ahead.
In the event that your radio, you can't hear me on the radio, the signal for that is you take your free hand, which is your left hand, hit your helmet and wave to me till I pick up my brightly colored paddles, okay, which I don't have with me right now. Then the commands will be power up, throttle back, whichever direction the paddles are pointing, you push with that foot. Yes. And then this is cut, okay? Go ahead now and describe for me the first flight pattern you're going to fly.
Just a minute.
Okay, we're going to go off. When we take off, we're going to go to the right, keep going, come around, and then you guys are going to tell me, now do we go back again? And this is where you make your 360 to the right, and then we're going to come back and get level again, and then go to your left and make your 8, and then go around again. And then this is where you start coming down, right? Or for your lower part again, and then you go around one more time, is that it? And then you come in for your landing. Is that right?
How does she have it?
That's it. Now, a couple important things you want to remember is on your low-level pass, do not land the airplane.
Right.
And the third time around, the minute your wheels touch the ground on landing, kill the engines. Okay? Okay? That's it.
Peggy, are you ready?
I'm ready. We're waiting for the rain. Look we're getting soaked sitting here with these instructions.
Yes, Susan.
You better watch out because Peggy's probably going to be a fighter pilot.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure we're going to have to worry about that because right now, are you getting a little bit nervous now?
A little bit nervous, but I'm getting excited. The adrenaline's up, and I'm hoping that this rain goes away. That's just my biggest thing.
Tell the folks.
Don't go away, folks. We'll be right back. It was starting to rain harder and harder again, but we kept waiting right up until dark.
Well, as you can see by that ugly sky, it is not going to happen today. Peggy, what do you think?
I'm bummed.
I know she's all bummed out. Look at this. This is the one that she was going to fly. And look, the pink costume with the turquoise. This is really a pretty aircraft. It's even got button tufted upholstery. Very, very fancy. But on the other hand, this has been an awfully weird day, hasn't it?
Agreed. Very weird day. Look we started off, we were sweating and you were dripping with it. And now
it was
look
like 97 degrees and humid and everything. And then it turned and it's been raining most of the day on and off. And now the wind is blowing and now it's cold.
Yeah, and it's getting dark too. It looks like twisted.
Well, it's not that. It is actually getting dark because we're out of daylight. So we're going to try to postpone this. And what we're going to try to do, and I don't know if this is going to happen, but what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to get, for sure, if we can get Peggy out here and anybody else that can make it, we're going to try to drag them out either today or tomorrow.
After
and we're gonna
all
get this flying
that,
in. What do you think?
she's not going to fly?
Well, we're going to try, and I'm going to let you do this. Tell the folks, and we hope this isn't
What a letdown. It would have been so cool if she actually flew.
Don't go away, folks. We'll be right back.
I don't know. I've heard that many years ago, one of the motorsport girls did fly.
I was so disappointed, but we were determined, and when Mike and Susie called the next day to tell us it looked like we had to go, we were glad to return.
I would like to say what a difference a day makes, but it doesn't seem to make that much difference. I couldn't believe it today. It looked at about noon like we could really get this done. We had a sunny, warm day with no wind, and we started driving out here, and it started to look more and more and more like yesterday. But Peggy, it looks like we might get this done.
We're going to get it done.
Okay, I should tell the audience we're like 24 hours later now, Mike, and what do you think? You're the expert on this. You're the expert pilot. You've already been up once, and you were flying. You said it wasn't a problem.
No, it looks pretty decent right now. We're going to try it out one more time right before she flies, but it's looking pretty good up there.
We might have Peggy the pilot by the end of the day?
I want my wings when we're done.
Okay, kid, she wants her wings. You're excited about this, aren't you?
Yes.
And not really nervous.
No, the next step is the little airplane that we saw earlier taking off over.
Wait, one thing at a time. One thing at a time. Now, as I understand it, Mike, you're going to do a little quick demonstration flight, just one more time to check it out, and then it's going to be her turn?
Then it'll be her turn.
Okay, folks, don't go away because this is going to get good.
The weather was far from perfect, but it was doable, and Mike Harmoning was about to provide me with a final demonstration.
Well, Peggy, do you know what to watch for now?
Yes.
Okay, what's he going to do first? How's he going to get going here?
He's going to put his feet in there first. He's checking everything. He's just looking, making sure everything, he knows what he's doing.
Okay, feet are going in his stir.
Okay, there's a thumbs up. Yep. He's throttling. He's pushing on the throttle, looking, making sure the parachute's up.
Watching the canopy all the way.
Uh-huh. Well, that's what they're going to be helping me with as well. Because
they'll be helping you with the canopy?
See his wheels go up? He said there's a little bit of a crosswind today.
And he's off. He's off the ground.
Yes,
Yes, and the crosswind is pulling him off to the left.
Yes.
And now he's flying to the right to compensate for the crosswind.
Right. Well, he'll tell me, just listen to the commands and I'll be fine.
Okay, you're not afraid at all?
No, uh-uh.
Okay, well, it looks like the thing flies pretty nice, huh? Doesn't it look
Everybody's
pretty
more
up
nervous than I am. I'm really not that nervous. You guys are terrible.
Well, because we're concerned for you, kid.
Oh, I'm concerned for myself, but I'm more excited than nervous.
Okay.
Mike is an expert and makes it look easy. We continue to watch.
Peggy, I think he's going to bring it in now, and he was up there doing some turns and everything. Now you can see there's a pretty fair crosswind.
Yes, that's what he said.
Okay, and that's not going to bother you?
No.
Okay, well, the only place it's going to bother you is when you're coming in like this. This is important, and I want to make sure that you stay away from the vehicles and all that we've got parked here. Okay, and if there's any doubt, you just get that gas on it again and get up and go around, okay?
Right, okay. I'm watching.
But this guy's expert, and look at this thing, is just about walking speed coming in.
Yes, look at that. He's going right close to that guy, too, and he knows exactly what he's doing. Look at him.
Look at this. Look at this.
Oh, no,
look at this, huh? Look at this.
The ground level flight. Okay.
He was just doing a slow flyby.
Right, that's what he said. This is where you come in for the ground. No, wait a minute.
No, I don't think he's landing. I think he was just doing a flyby.
No, that's the I think that's part of the plan there. See? How you almost come in for a landing and then he says you have to take off again. And then you go around one more time, then you come in for your landing.
Okay, well, I don't know if we exactly want you to do it. Do you think you can handle that?
That's what they said you have to do.
Okay, well, if you can
That's
handle
part
it.
of the plan.
Okay.
Mike continued to fly, checking the wind conditions carefully.
Okay, Peggy, I think he's going to make his approach for a final now. I think he's going to come in here and land. What do you think? Is he going to run into this other one that's sitting here?
No, he's too good at it.
Yeah, he's very good at it, but I don't know. This is going to look pretty close. He's waving his arms about. Oh, it looks like I guess he's got it under control.
Gonna go around again? Wait a minute, he's signaling something to Susie. Go around again? Huh?
It's amazing how slow they fly, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's neat to watch it though. Look at that. I don't know, I guess he's going around.
I think he's enjoying flying and doesn't realize that it's your turn.
I know, I want to go. Finally, Mike brought the high flyer in.
Peggy, look at this. The sun is out. It's glittering in the sunlight, even though the background looks a little black off to the left. But it's starting to look pretty now. We're moving the other one out of the way so he can come in and touch down. Now, are you going to watch him all the way now and tell the audience you've got the instruction? What's he going to do?
He's throttling back right now, and he's just steering. He's going to start steering when he gets to the ground, and he's going to cut it. See, look, he's pushing forward with his feet, and as soon as he touches, see, cut the engine and he pushed forward. There we go.
It sure doesn't look that hard, does it?
No, it doesn't. I just hope I get the chance.
Oh, I do too, because the wind.
She's not going to fly.
Now this is it. Mike reported that the crosswind was a little tricky, but manageable. They strapped me in the high flyer, started it up, and waited for just the right moment to throttle up.
I don't believe it.
Is she actually going to do it? Now I'm nervous.
I did it! I did it! I was actually flying, and it was wonderful. I was having a wonderful time. The feeling was glorious. would have liked to have flown for hours, but after about 20 minutes, they called me in for a landing.
Unbelievable. Well done, Peggy.
It was incredible. I actually did it. It was wonderful, and guess who I had watching?
May I introduce to our audience Pilot Peggy.
Yay! Thank you. You guys did a great job.
Peggy, I want your immediate reactions here.
It was so exciting. I got nervous as soon as I started taking off. That's when I got nervous, when I saw it, and it was reality. And I was up there, and I'm looking around. I'm up here. Yes.
Was it hard?
It wasn't hard. I was just waiting for their commands and enjoying it. There was a guy watching in his truck. I'm like, hi.
Okay, we've got some new players here. Just don't run away for a minute, everybody. Please tell the folks who you are.
I'm Steve O'Donnell.
Steve O'Donnell, the last name should be familiar. You've known Peggy O'Donnell now for about 3 years. This is her husband, Steve, and a very supportive cast. We'll get them one at a time, and you are?
Brad Morse.
And?
Brendan O'Donnell.
And?
I don't know.
Oh, come on, you know your name. Go ahead and tell us your name.
I think she's like I was when I first started the show, afraid of that mic.
That's
Brianna O'Donnell.
That's Brianna. So this is the supporting husband and cast of kids. Are you proud of your mom?
Yeah.
You know you've got a mom that 99% of the women on this planet could not do what she just did. You should be pretty excited.
Yeah, I am.
How about you? You proud of your mom?
Mm-hmm.
Brianna, you proud? And Steve, what about you?
Oh, I can't believe it.
I can't either. I absolutely can't believe it. You guys, yes.
I feel like butter and I have to go to the bathroom.
Well, that's nothing new. You always seem to have to go. Trust me, after traveling with her for 3 years, it's always bathroom time. I'm not surprised that Mike and Susie, you guys could get her up there and get her back down again. And one of the points of this program that we've been trying to make here all day is that you guys said 3 years ago, anybody can do this. It would appear anybody can do it.
Anybody can do this.
Mike?
Not a doubt in my mind.
How many years have you been training folks?
10 years now.
10 years. Have you
She's
ever
about
had
801.
Have you ever had anybody that you couldn't get to do it?
Nah, never have.
No failures in all that time?
No.
Okay, this is actually a little bit hard because I'm sort of pressing them to duty here, which they do. Years ago when we first did this show with them, they were flying other people's powered parachutes, and now they've got their own I guess it is High Flyer, right? I keep saying High Flyers. The brand is High Flyer. You've got your own. So you guys don't do a lot of training anymore normally. You've got dealers and that to do all that stuff.
Yes, we do.
But you guys, we pressed you into service. And
we
you did.
love doing it. We love doing it. You can't take it out of our blood. And Peggy was a pleasure.
Well, I told you when you called, I got just the right girl for you. I am so sorry that we couldn't have had Susan and Gloria out here. But again, you folks saw what happened. We waited in the rain yesterday all the way until it got dark, and we never had acceptable weather conditions. And we've got, Chuck, I don't know if you can broaden your shot, we've got ultralight aircraft landing right over our heads. And also, you can see there's another powered parachute. You say you know who that fella is up there?
It's Jerry Ritchie.
Jerry Ritchie, he's been up flying around.
And he's from Genoa, Illinois here as well, and he's part of our club out here, and he has just one heck of a good time with it.
That's right. I want to remind our audience that we're in Genoa, Illinois, and this is only about an hour from Chicago. Boy, if you're interested in learning how to fly, Peggy, you do know that we can, you've got your wings now. We can appropriately call you a pilot, and not one person on this planet can argue. Do you know that?
I feel like doing cartwheels.
And we're going to give her a certificate suitable for framing that she can hang on any wall that she desires.
Well, this is just absolutely wonderful. I've got to tell you, I was holding my breath. Poor poor Chuck and I, after you took off and you got it in the air and we could see you were handling it okay, Chuck kind of glanced over at me without shaking the camera at all and said, "Can I take a breath now?" And I said, "I kind of forgot too, Chuck. Yeah, we better start breathing." But we're proud of you. You did great, and I know your family is all proud of you. Folks, yes.
Can they do a close? They've been wanting to do this together. I know you like
all three of them.
Oh, we'll see if she'll do it. She's a little shy.
Okay, you guys, three guys together, if we can. We get Brianna right out here in front. You guys just like this, all three of you together. I want you guys, this is Peggy O'Donnell's kids. Now look over at the camera. I want you guys to look right over at our camera, right over there. And all of you together, I want you to say,
Don't go away, folks. We'll be right back.
I don't believe it. Our Peggy is a pilot. We're all very proud of her, and it proves Mike and Susie Harmoning's point that anybody can do it. Unfortunately, we're out of time with only enough left to acknowledge the fine work of our award-winning production team, including Chuck Itzenthaler, John Papke, and Tom McGrady. Special thanks to JBTV's Jerry Bryant. Music is created for us by Fireside Recording Studio in Westchester, Illinois, and by independent artists Roger Pauli and Jerry Herbert. Of course, we have to take a moment to thank the stars of this edition of Motorsports Unlimited: Susan Russell, Gloria Walters, brand new pilot Peggy O'Donnell, and our host Bill Wildt. Me, I'm Tim Murtaugh, suggesting you watch each week. We've got about 20 minutes of Peggy flying the Harmoning High Flyer, and we're going to show it to you in a later program. She's pretty special, isn't she? Thanks for watching. See you next week.
This program made possible in part by support from Copy That, located in the County Farm Plaza at County Farm Road and Army Trail Road in Carroll Stream, Illinois. This program made possible in part by support from PB Food Products, located on 47th Street at Western Avenue in Chicago, Illinois.
This program made possible in part by support from J.C. Whitney & Company, located just off I-80 at the Utica exit in LaSalle, Illinois.
Motorsports Unlimited is produced by Bill Wildt, president of the Motorsport Advancement Crusade.
This program made possible in part by support from Jimmy's Red Hots, located on Grant Avenue and Pulaski Road in Chicago.
This program made possible in part by support from the Chicagoland Toys for Tots Motorcycle Parade, held on Western Avenue in Chicago, the first Sunday in December.
This program made possible in part by support from ABC Auto Parts, located on Ashland Avenue at 138th Street in Blue Island, Illinois.
This program made possible in part by support from Bridgestone Firestone and your local Bridgestone Firestone tire retailers.
Motorsports Unlimited was created to raise public consciousness, understanding, and appreciation of the motorsport community and their activities. You can contact us by email at msutv.com, or you can write to Motorsport, P.O. Box 66242, Chicago, Illinois, 60666. We enjoy hearing from our audience. Please let us know what you think.
Next week on Motorsports Unlimited, it's the 4th annual Bridgeview Sports Dome Car Show. Brainchild of Bridgeview Director of Parks and Recreation Tom Landeck, it has become the most unique car show in Chicagoland. Check it out next week on Motorsports Unlimited.
So that's it, another edition of Motorsports Unlimited and the lovely ladies of motorsports. And be with us next week because we'll have something real exciting. Bill Wildt's going to have the lovely ladies, and just about anything can happen right here on Motorsports Unlimited. Every week at this time, we bring you the best in motorsports. So be seeing ya. Bye-bye. And keep on rocking.